Good morning, good afternoon, good bright, and I'm Blackbright, and I'm talking about today the children of overstayers, because sometimes that's what comes to mind more than anything else. You know, it's fine about, it's like, it's okay about me, I can manage, but what about my children? Now, before I go into this, I do need to let you know that it does appear that I do a lot of videos in quick succession. I don't normally. I've been a month or so without doing anything. It just so happens that this is very close to my heart, so I am doing them quite frequently. But if you don't want to miss a video, you can always subscribe so to make sure that you are in the loop. So I don't tend to chat for the sake of it, but if there is a topic that I am interested about and I think other people might be interested in it, I do talk about it. And sometimes people ask me to talk about something, and I'll research it and I'll talk about that too. Now, getting back to children. Now, once again, being born in the UK, we can become very naive because we take a lot for granted. We don't think about people coming in from different countries. When I say we don't think about it, we interact, we have relationships with them, we just go on as normal. I never for once thought, because I've been married a couple of times, but both to Jamaicans, but my husband, I never ever thought to question his immigration status or the status of my children or anything like that, because you meet, you get married, you spend time together, you have children, you get on with your daily life. Now, with all this immigration thing coming up, it's like you have to question everything. So remember yesterday in a video, a lady said a child born in Britain was put on the plane. And I said, well, there has to be a reason for that, even though at that time I didn't know what that reason was. I just thought that, I said something about the parents must be Jamaican or whatever. It turned out that before 2000, a child was automatically a citizen to someone born in the UK. Then between April 2000 and 2006, the parent had to have been a permanent resident in the UK, and then if she had a child, that child was not a British citizen. She would have to register that child to be a British citizen. Now, just supposing that parent was not a permanent resident, or just supposing that parent was a permanent resident but didn't know that she had to register her child. So then it gets a bit more complicated. So after 2006, I'm getting all this confused now. Okay, between April 2000 and 2006, a child born to a parent is not a British citizen, okay, regardless of how long they've been in the country, okay? After April 2006 to the present, the parents would have had to have been a permanent resident, and the child would have to be registered. So I don't know if that would apply to me or if it just applies for people coming into the country. I would think it applies to people coming into the country. I only found this out because I was listening to a YouTube videos about the EU people that are concerned about their children and who may have to go back, because I wouldn't have known that ordinarily. It's not kind of put out there. You have a child in a country, you automatically assume that that child is a citizen of that country. These people are devious, may I tell you. Anyway, for those people who have overstayed, It used to be 28 days. Now they've cut that down. Since the hostile environment policy, they've cut that down to 14 days. The majority of people who would have overstayed are bound to have overstayed years and years and years ago. Now, if you overstayed years and years and years ago, there's no chance. I mean, they cite Article 8 and say family and private life and all that kind of garbage. But to be honest, you know, they're not going to you can't justify it. You've broken the law as far as they're concerned. And yes, you can say you've got a family and blah, blah, blah. But what about those people they deported? They've all got families, so it doesn't apply. As far as they're concerned, if you broke the law and overstayed, that means you're not trustworthy. They can put that into the bracket of, let me read you what it says in Article 8. The right of respect for private and family life. Everyone has a right to respect for his private and family life. There again, suppose it impinges on someone else's life. That's one thing, okay? There should be no interference by public authority with the exercise of this right, except such as in accordance with the law. You see what I mean? They always put a loophole in there. So, oh yeah, on the one hand, they're saying you have right to family life, but if you've broken the law, you don't. So if I were you, to be honest, unless there's exceptional circumstances, I wouldn't be paying a lawyer and trying to see if I can stay in the country. It's money down the drain. Like I said, you know, if they're talking about exceptional circumstances are when you're dying, you're on your deathbed, if your house and everything's been flooded and burnt and mashed down, and those kind of things. Those are what they're calling exceptional circumstances. There was one guy, I think in 2015, he had hepatitis B. And technically, if he went back to his country, they didn't have any medicine for hepatitis B. So by deporting him and sending him back, it would have been a life sentence. Well, a death sentence, I should say. So in those circumstances, they were still going to send him back, you know, but there was this great big petition. So if they're willing to send somebody back to a place where he cannot get any treatment and he's got hepatitis B, much say any of us who are here who have overstayed, whether it's by mistake, because the thing is with overstaying, when you think about overstaying, it's like it could happen by accident, genuinely. You could have a stay for 6 months and you genuinely think, oh, bloody hell, I've overstayed. And then it's like, you know, like when you enter a new relationship and you tell a lie, and then the longer you're in that relationship, it's harder to tell the truth. That's what it's like with overstaying. You overstay and you think, oh my God, what am I going to do? You don't know probably about the 14 days or the 28 days or whatever. Or you've passed the 28 days and you think, oh my God, if I go and tell them, what are they going to do to me? Are they going to put me in prison? What are they going to do? So then you think, oh God, I better stay. Or I lie low. Then you're afraid to leave the country in case they haul you off at the airport. Apparently, if you leave within 3 months of your overstay, you're not allowed to come back, but they will allow you to go with no repercussions, apparently. So there's a lot of bits and pieces involved. It's so intricate, and you know, they make it so complex when you're listening to lawyers and you're trying to find out information. It's so complex, and if it's not one thing, it's the other. I mean, I'm just telling you basic stuff. Like I say, I haven't got a law degree. You know, I'm not giving you legal advice. I've just picked out what I think can help other people understand, and whether or not it's worth going and seeing a solicitor or whatever in order to stay if you've overstayed. To be honest, like I said in my previous videos, if you've overstayed and you've been here 10, 20 years, there is this thing now. They've got this 20-year rule. If you've been in the country for 20 years, uninterrupted, and you don't have to have been here legally, Anyway, so they say you don't have to have been here legally, but you need to have lived in the country for 20 years continuously. You couldn't have left. Now, I don't see how you can leave if you're illegally here anyway, because you wouldn't have the passport, I would have assumed. Anyway, I don't know how that works. To me, that I smell a rat with that one. But apparently, if you've been here for 20 years, you can apply for indefinite visa. If that's the case, why are they making so much fuss if you've overstayed for 3 months, 6 months or whatever? I definitely smell a rat with that one. If you've been here over 20 years, I would just be saving my money just in case. And, sending it, to a bank, a reputable bank in America. Not to any individual, because, people are corrupt. But to a reputable bank, that's what I would be doing. But if you've been here 10 years now, what they're saying now is that if you've been here legally for 10 years, and that you haven't left the country for more than 6 months at a time, but it mustn't exceed 540 days for the whole 10 years. If you've done that, then you can apply for an indefinite leave to remain. But if, supposing you've left the country for 6 months here, 6 months there, 6 months there, 6 months there, you're not going to get that indefinite leave to remain. It's either 6 months or whatever 540 days is. I think it equivalates to three months in total, something like that. Anyway, so that's another. You can get an indefinite leave to remain if you've stayed in the country continuously, no breaks. Apart from a holiday, a couple of weeks, but you're here legally, continuously, then you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. But that's what I mean. There's so much little bits and pieces. How do you pull the whole thing together? And like I said, when you're dealing with children, there are some rules with children. If they, let me see if I can find it. If they're under the age of 18, not born in the UK, but have lived in the UK for 7 years, and you can prove that it's unreasonable to expect them to go back, they can get an extension for leave to remain for 2 years. Aged between 18 and 25, at the time they make the application and lived in the UK for at least half of their life, and they have evidence to prove it, then they can apply for indefinite leave to remain. Lived in the UK 20 years continuously, you need to show evidence. And that one where I was talking about leave to remain and for 20 years, if you want to apply, you need to have evidence of somebody writing to you, like a doctor, a lawyer, a bill or something, every single year for those 20 years. As long as it is addressed to you and you can prove it, that's supposed to be a criteria and make you eligible. Over age of 18, lived in the UK for less than 20 years, difficult for you to integrate into the country they're sending you back to, a possibility. Anyway, that is the main